was that announcement for?
That was for the next Jewel Cave tour. We're at the Jewel Cave National Monument in South Dakota. Getting ready to go caving.
Spelunking. Isn't that what they used to call it in the old days?
Crawling on our hands and knees, maybe.
No, I'm not doing that. But anyway, we're gonna go take this tour and see how it comes out. Looks like the most wanted poster. Does the cave have fresh air picking? Does the cave have fresh air?
Yeah. But before we go down, we do have to go over a couple of rules. I think I just forgot. My name is Ranger Jeffrey. But first rule, most important rule, don't touch any of the rocks down there. There's going to be a lot of rocks in touching distance. Keep your hands to yourself. If a human made it, feel free to touch it. If the earth made it, please do not touch it. There's also going to be a really big rock in the middle of the floor. Besides not touching that, it's perfect for retying your shoe. Please don't use it for that purpose. There's also going to be some rocks that are very easy to lean on. Please do not lean on them. There are a couple benches down there if you do need to take a seat, but just don't lean on any of those rocks. Those are kind of the big ones. Basically, we want the rocks looking the same for the next group as they look for us. I do have 3 exceptions to those rock touching rules, but I will be personally handing you those rocks. So there won't be any confusion on which rocks you can touch. That's the big one. Next one, no food, drinks, gum, candy, cough drops, anything like that. Do have a trash can right by the elevators if y'all need to make a deposit. More than welcome to take it out when you get back up to the surface. That's just up to you though. And then in terms of cameras, please take as many photos as you want. Take photos with flash. Just try not to flash anybody in the face. So there's lights in the cave, but it is dimmer down there than it is up here. So once our eyes get adjusted, that flash will just hurt a little bit more. So just be mindful where you're pointing your cameras. And then this rule, this might be one of my first no kids tour. It's mainly for kids, but it very much also goes for us. Don't pick anybody up while we're down in the cave. Mainly that's for people not to pick up their kids. But I also don't want you picking up each other. Not to say I don't have faith in your muscles, but I don't have faith in your muscles and everyone would fall down. So just keep everybody on their 2 feet at all times. There will be an optional flight of stairs that you can go down if you choose. Please don't take any photos when you're on those stairs, and please use the handrails when you're going down. The last and biggest rule kind of has to do with our shoes. Everybody's shoes look good. Obviously, I probably asked you about shoes, or whoever sold you your tickets asked about shoes. The ranger who was checking you in after, he broke eye contact, he probably immediately went down to your feet to check your shoes. So everyone's shoes are good, and I'm going to explain the purpose of that rule kind of at the end of the tour. I'm sure that's the main reason you're here, is to find out why we require the shoes we do and nothing else. So I'm going to keep you waiting in suspense to tell you that at the end of the tour. But does anybody have any questions for me about any of those rules? All right, let's go ahead and head on over to the elevators. We're going to line up along the windows. most of our cave really only sits within 4 square miles, but we are currently over 200 miles long, so it's just kind of back and forth on top of each other. Basically, think about it this way: if you were to measure the length of every noodle in a bowl of spaghetti, wouldn't really make sense that it would all fit into that bowl, but it does because it's all over on top of each other. It's all very flexible. But as you can see on here, it is not one long tube that goes for 220.33 miles. It is a jumbled mess down there. So more specifically, if you look out more that direction, that is where we are about to be. So here in a minute, when you're looking up at the ceiling, that is what is going to be on top of us. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get down into the cave. I'm going to take about half of y'all, and then the other half we're going to go with Ranger Ben. We're just, not in the sardine business here, so we all can head on in. Perfect. That is a perfect break. I'll see the rest of y'all down.
I'll give them a little bit of a head start.
Ben, is your last name Sargent?
No.
Oh, okay. It's like,
That would be me.
there's,
Is this one that breaks down?
Huh?
Is this the elevator that breaks down?
I've never heard elevators break down.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
stop. They're nice. Oh, it's very, very cool.
It's okay. It's okay. I have to put it on the camera. Thank you, though. 22 Jeffrey, like Taylor Swift.
Alright, so welcome to our cave lobby. Hopefully everyone noticed not a man-made feature of the cave. You want to touch something that looks like a rock on the wall, makes you feel a little bit special, getting away with something. Feel free to touch the walls in here. It's all man-made in here. The reason we have this airlock is because our cave is a breathing cave. So when it's a low pressure day outside, you go stand in front of the historic entrance, it is exhaling a lot of air. We're feeling 49 degrees. And then on a high pressure day, it's sucking in that air. So if we were immediately into the cave via the elevators, the doors of the visitor center would be affected by that pressure change. So some days they would probably not close, other days they would be impossible to open. So we're just trying to keep all the cave air down in the cave and all the visitor center air up in the visitor center. But once we go on in, we're just going to stay on this top platform for right now. Towards the end of the tour, we'll give you the opportunity to go down to that lower platform. But for right now, just stay up here on the top, and then I'll just call us all back together when I'm ready to get started. Welcome to Jewel Cave, the actual cave this time. We're now about 234 feet below the surface with a beautiful Pahasapa. Pahasapa, that is a Lakota term, translates to hills of black, and it's where we get our English term, Black Hills. This area, this mountain range, is considered very sacred by multiple indigenous groups, including the Lakota, the Dakota, Cheyenne, Kiowa, Arapaho, and Crow people, just to name a few. privileged to get to be down here today, especially inside of the Black Hills, not just on top of the Black Hills, as you've been for all the previous portion of your vacation. But our cave story, it's a very long story, gets started way before there's anybody anywhere to name anything. Now, it was about 300 million years ago when this whole area was underneath an ocean. A very shallow sea, kind of went right down the middle of the continent. And in this ocean were very tiny sea creatures. A lot of them had shells or skeletons that are based in calcium, like they still are today. And when those animals would die, sink down to the bottom, their bones and shells would kind of get crushed up and cemented together by the pressure, and would create limestone. So all the rocks in here, with the exception of those red ones up there, is all limestone. Our cave exists entirely within this layer of limestone that is actually named Fossa limestone. But this rock is limestone, that rock is limestone, that rock is limestone. If you've been somewhere with limestone before, it was underneath the ocean at some point in time. I come from Texas, which has a lot of limestone, and it's also underneath the ocean for a good amount of time. But that's kind of the first ingredient. First thing you need for a cave is a big layer of rock that starts carving away at. Get more rocks. This is a piece of our limestone. I passed around even if it wasn't that cool, but from where you're standing, probably not that cool. But in here are some fossils. Animals have their shells fossilized in here. So this is just really cool, kind of shows where it was from, definitely underneath the water. But there's one right here, there's some others that y'all can look and find. I'll pass that one around. There's two more as well. That's kind of the first ingredient, like I said. Next is the actual cave formation. So I'm going to fast forward to about 60 million years ago, when the Black Hills started to form, and started to uplift. As that happened, our limestone got cracks in it. Water seeped into those cracks. This water had become very slightly acidic by coming into contact with the atmosphere and the soil that it kind of seeps through. Kind of picked up some carbon dioxide along the way, became carbonic acid, and that acid is what was able to dissolve away all of our cave. Now, how many of y'all would drink carbonic acid if I gave it to you? Perfect. Has anybody had soda before? Yeah, you have had carbonic acid before, that carbonated beverage had carbonic acid in it. Now, I'm not a dentist, but I'm sure a dentist would say, not the best for your teeth, those carbonated beverages, for multiple reasons. But what do sugary drinks and acidic drinks do to our teeth, to our calcium-based teeth? What do they do to them? Yeah, what would you get if you had a sugary drink in your mouth for a couple of years? Cavities, exactly. Now, the earth doesn't get cavities, but it does get cavities. So just think about it that way. Now, I'm pretty sure cavities are partially formed with the help of bacteria, so it's not a perfect metaphor, but our cave is basically the same as your enamel getting eaten away in your mouth. That is how all of our cave passages were formed over millions and millions and millions of years, dissolving away at that rock. If we were to throw some carbonic acid laced water onto this rock, we would not notice it change for years and years and years. But eventually, given enough time, it will eat away. But when it does that, it dissolves that limestone, and as the water kind of drains away, because obviously there's no water in here right now, it also deposits rocks, and that is where we get our crystals. Is anybody familiar with how to make rock candy? Kind of put sugar in water, dissolve it, put something in there for the crystals to grow off of, let the water evaporate, you get crystals. Same process happened in here, just it's not sugar, it's limestone. But the first crystal I want to point out is what's called dog-tooth spar. It's just a little bit spikier than the other kind of spar that we have. Spar was explained to me as a geology term for rock, basically. I was not given a specific answer. So if you're wondering what spar means, I am not the person to ask that question to. But this is nail or dogtooth spar, and then our other kind is called nailhead spar. This is the prettier of the two, but it's also less frequent. So there's a good amount of it in this room. There's just kind of in the nooks and crannies, really covering any walls. So what's already being illuminated right over here on this wall, that is a big chunk of it. And then there is also some up here. And that big chunk. There's more over here. And that pocket is covered in it. So is that pocket. There's some cracks. There's more over here as well. That's the prettier of the two. So passing that one around. And the next one Mainly, I don't think it's hunting because the way I pointed out to you is look for all the bumpy rocks, which doesn't really scream nails to me. But anyways, but we were a small cave for a while. What we thought that was the cave pretty much has been the same size sometime. So we want to go over there to keep contact and sweat. That would be something else as well. This is a great winter activity. You want to stay active during the winter time, so come down to a cave. It's this temperature all year round. It's kind of nice that it's cold because you can heat up very quickly. However, then there are also some portions of the cave where it's really windy, so that you're drenched in sweat and wind. So it's a challenge too, but they fell in love with our cave and cave exploration. We did almost 700 different explorers. Also the first person to do airflow studies with our cave. Basically knowing the pressure change outside from any given period of time. With a bunch of fancy equipment, we can kind of estimate how big of a volume of a cave that we have. That kind of leads me to the difference between longest cave and largest cave. Basically, if you think about it, like Mount Everest, that's the highest mountain in the world.
Got a car, tell me where you want to go. We can chase the sun down South to Mexico. Got them sounds, tell me what you want to hear.
So, fellow adventurers, we just finished what kind of?
The discovery tour of the Jewel Caves.
And Caitlin said something that just kind of, it left you like, what?
It
A book with a what?
It was like I was reading a book with a cliffhanger. I have to know more.
You have to know more? So what tour would that be?
The scenic tour.
So the scenic tour is even longer. We were down there, what, about 45 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And during that time, we got to learn about the history of the Jewel Cave and how it came to exist and what it's doing and how they haven't even found close to half of it. Some 14 million cubic feet of cave still left to find, which is just kind of crazy.
Right?
Yeah, they said about 95% of the cave is still undiscovered.
So if you're in South Dakota, coming to be registered fellow South Dakotans like us, one of the things you have to do is definitely come up here and see what?
The Jewel Caves.
National monument.
And it's not that far. Well, I think we're only like 60 miles out of Rapid City and, Mailboxes of America. And
Mount Rushmore is also not too far away. Or
Mount
Crazy
Rushmore is
Horse.
just a little bit away, and Crazy Horse.
And Wind Cave is like 20 miles away.
And Wind Cave.
Lots to do here.
Wind Cave is another national park, and that's on our list to do too. So remember, fellow adventurers, that
Adventures lie at every turn.
Like and subscribe.
so come take the turn
And
with us.
comment.
Yeah, leave some comments.
Tell us what you liked best.
Yeah, we'll put those all together, and there'll be pictures to go along with videos. So we'll have some boop sound for the pictures, and we'll go from there. All right, fellow adventurers, thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
We got the top down, cruising at 65. The engine's rolling, it's good to be alive. Out on the highway, oh yeah, we're free now. We lost the